understand.
Oh, you'll get yeah. No, you'll get it. You'll get it.
Let me share the screen here.
And explain, make sure you explain about it being a particle system and that association with it.
Start start sharing. Okay, so you can see my screen there.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this toroid is just there for a geometrical reference. It's not actually doing anything. It just kind of symbolically represents a magnetic field where it would be. Now on the right hand side of the model here, I have two groups of vortexes, which are just like tornadoes, spinning tornadoes that are pointing towards the center. As I highlight this object here, you'll see it, that yellow line, right? So there's a bunch of those in there. There's actually 16 of them, and I'll highlight them all. There. And I'll render that just so you can kind of see a little bit better. So they're all pointed towards the center, but they're arranged in what we call the linchpin configuration. I'm going to pretend like you never heard of that before. So there's one on the top, and then three in groups of three around that are spaced at 120 degrees apart. And the tilt of these ones on the bottom here is 109.5 degrees in relationship to the top ones that are creating this flat space on the top and the bottom. And they're spaced at 120 degrees radially. And then inside the model is three groups of particle systems with known masses up to 1,000 pounds, from 2.2 pounds to 1,000 pounds. And there's no gravity whatsoever in this model. There's no center attractor. So it's just vortexes and two magnetic fields, a north and a south polarity, and one harmonic resonance, which is emanating a vibration in the field in this region here where these vortexes are pointed. So it kind of just oscillates to give it a little bit of randomness in motion so that the particles will kind of interact and bounce around like smoke or water, waves in water. And then when I hit play, it does it all by itself using physics simulations. So there's no animations at all in this model. And when I play it, this is what pops out.
Wow.
And then when I look down at the top, it makes the actual hexagon that NASA has observed on the top of Saturn
Without gravity.
without any gravity. And you'll see that you get a surface of the sphere on the inside with the heavier particles. So the
So
colors
are you basically saying, is this saying that you guys can recreate planets?
yes, this is a particle simulation of the physics involved in making up the planet Saturn.
Wow.
Like all the
Yeah.
yeah. So the heavier particles are creating the red and the green here where the hexagon is. And those are the heavier ones creating the shell of the planet. And then the outside are lighter particles that are a fluid that's creating the counter rotation of the atmosphere of Saturn, like we observe scientifically. And the red ones in the middle here are where the magnetic field is strongly polarized at the north and south poles, which gives you aurora borealis.
I have a question. Now, does this mean that you would be able to control what kind of atmosphere the planet has as well? Like you can change that? Because you can create it, that means you can change it.
We now have a system by which you can, it's the arrangement of linchpins and the axis upon which they are spinning in relation to each other, and or vibrating. And by doing that, we can create the condition, any condition that we want.
So you can have human life here, is what you're saying.
We can recreate life.
If you were able to, if you're able to change and alter these external fields and had an understanding, like at least this would give us a method of studying it in such a way that we now understand that it's external pressures being applied from the outside in, not the standard model where you have internal fission reaction in a nuclear in a planet with magnetic fields from iron cores, etc., going outward. Right? That's all kind of ego based at the center. This is pretty solid evidence that everything we're observing is from the outside coming in. So the entire universe is actually creating these planets from the outside in, from space itself, the pressures.
Returning waves.
Yeah.
It's the returning waves that are creating the geometry that we call reality.
Yeah, it's like,
that's crazy.
it's crazy. It's like Saturn is a reflection. It's like a mirror reflection of the external forces that are creating it. So this is where matter slows down.
Now,
right?
this is Saturn. Have you done this with the other
No,
planets?
you just did this today.
Just did this today. This is crazy.
No.
Yeah.
Now show her the galaxy.
And then the other one I've done is, let me do a save just in case to make sure I don't lose that. Open recent galaxy. Planetary. I think it's the second one.
No, I don't.
So this one is similar, except it's a whole lot simpler. Where galaxies are so large, there's no central magnetic field in this one. This strongly polarized. There's only essentially one weak magnetic field and only 4 vortexes and 2 particle systems of different mass. Because it's not like a spherical type of system, right? So it's only basically 2 poles essentially, or single pole really. And so what happens when I play this one, it's the same idea, you just have 2 particle systems. Let's go back to the front and play it. So this is, the matter is essentially coming from inside the galaxy and being unwound, right? It's unwinding like a spiral in reverse. And if I stop it at exactly 504 frames of iterations, it should be large enough to, it takes a minute to process because there's over 300,000 particles in this system. Wow. Let me get to 504. It's a pretty close match. Let's go back. That's 506. That's pretty close. So you see, it's almost perfect, right? It's actually the groupings of the particles. 504 is almost bang on.
504, right at the 9.
Yeah, 504 frames, like actual frames. Yeah. And then when you look at it on the side, this is an image from NASA of our local galaxy and the angles involved. So they, right? So this is the sweep of our own galaxy, the Milky Way, from NASA at 60 light years across. Right? And then when I look at it from the front,
look at how it sits into NASA's picture of the galaxy.
Right.
Look at it, and then I love the fact that at the tips of it, you have those tentacles coming off.
Yeah.
Showing the full direction of what it's about to do, that really laying out the field ahead of time before the particles or the semblance of particles, the waveforms will hit it, will illuminate it.
Are you telling Miss I think she's gonna come here. I hope she does.
Wow.
So you can see how the distribution of the mass, like when you look compared to NASA's picture, right? So you have this sort of.
Which one is NASA's picture? Is the top
one
picture?
on top, yeah.
This one right here, yeah. Yeah. So you can see how it's split, right? So the Milky Way has these. It's like an X in the middle because there's division of mass.
Yeah, that's that shift. The shift they keep saying points to a black hole.
Right.
Because they have the wrong. They work with
Now fold it up again to where it fits right underneath it, and right, yeah,
Yeah, from the front. So there's the front view.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it just predicts the entire thing.
Yeah.
And that's
So
just
he's
the
Well, you
two.
guys gotta get like, and no one from Blue Origin has wanted to talk to you that.
Um, nah, they haven't thought to spin it. They probably ignored Vince when he first took it in there, or they're secretly trying to work on it. Because Vince has gone um, oddly quiet since I sent him the book. But that book has that kind of effect on people. People get afraid to respond to it as if, thinking they're the only people that got a copy of it, and that means that somebody can come and wipe them out. If they even acknowledge that they received it.
Funny.
so just the clincher of this. I think the clincher is like when I look at I put on the sphere here, and I can show you this is the settings for the particle physics, and you can see that just to confirm that gravity is set to 0. There's no gravity in here at all. So all I'm using is these 4 vortex forces, and that's what it predicts. That's what comes out of it. Yeah. Right, and they point towards the center, and they spin.
And that's just 300,000 particles.
Yeah, there's about
Or
300,000, I think.
That's basically 300,000 all shapes.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, there's
And,
one
this,
linchpin
and then
in the
with the
middle.
action
300.
with the action being in all shape. Yeah. So,
Yes. So why don't we, find a way to turn each of those particles to represent an all shape.
Yeah, I can turn
Is
these
that
into
possible?
individual all shapes, and then see how it'll be the same. It'll just these will be all shapes in the same positions. Yeah.
Yeah,
If I
but I
set.
mean, it's literally, or yeah, and then from that all shape, you can, you know, go in close on one and show that the interior of that all shape is the scaffolding called the linchpin.
Right.
The linchpin creates little versions of itself continually, and I think that tie-in in that, because then remember we've already going to explain the 4 forces coming in together to make the all shape and the linchpin and all of that stuff. It just keep bringing the message back around. Because remember, we're looking at the universe from the dark side. And so we wouldn't see the stars, we wouldn't see the expansive part of the star, because now we're really focusing on the contractive parts, those things pushing down on it. So, like putting on those glasses that allows you to see, ultraviolet, or,
Right. Yeah.
night vision glasses. We have to remember we're looking from the shadows. So we show that with the individual particles. We show it as if it's from another dimension, it's the shadow looking at the light.
It's the reflection of. Yeah, exactly. It's the inverse. Yeah.
And then it'll still build the flower, and then it'll be easier to see those come back together into the flower of life. Or you can bring all those spheres together and they'll do the same thing. But I think tying it in, and each one, as it vibrates, um, as it touches the other one, the energy transfers over, and that one comes alive and looks like and expands. The center, the flame in the center expands and become a full circle. And then as that contracts, the next one comes out. You see what I'm saying? So you still go back and forth from the sphere to the all shape, from the sphere, or from the linchpin to the all shape, to the sphere to the linchpin to the all shape, and keep going back and forth and allowing that to become the oscillations that's happening between each and every one of those star systems. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I can like for I can certainly put in a linchpin in here and then make all these particles all shapes, and certainly for the dramatic effect of it as well, right? And explain it the same way with the
Yeah, so
script.
I'm
With the
saying,
script.
yeah,
Yeah.
you started like this, and then remind them that each and every one of these bright things that we see is the result of four forces coming together,
At
which
the
is this,
atomic level,
and
which
it
is
makes
still it's
this.
still a linchpin in an all shape, yeah. At the
Yes,
atomic,
it's like,
yeah,
and it's all of these, and
yeah,
then you show a cloud of them moving over here, and then when they reform, they form into the flower of life, and you're like, that's
bang,
why this
yeah,
sat underneath this.
yeah,
That's why this was sitting underneath the foo-foo dolls, because it gives us the keys to creation.
absolutely, yeah. It's amazing. Eh? So how was my presentation? Mirror? Is she still there? Is she gone? Yeah,
She's sitting here,
yeah,
jaw agape,
That's the
talking
crazy thing.
about. She's now we've got to figure out where we're going to move to because you know they have no recovery from this, and they'll be angry about this.
yeah. That's the tricky part, is explaining it in a way that you think will make sense, right? Because when I'm doing this stuff, like the stuff going through my head, it's just you wouldn't want to be in there at the time. Yeah,
They'll think it's preposterous. That's most likely what they're going to say is like, it's ridiculous. They can't be predicted. I think it's going to be first response. It's shock.
Without gravity.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a shock.
Yeah.
And then it's the realization, and then it's the fear, because human nature is to murder or dissect anything that they believe is, you know, anything more than they know.
right.
They don't like anything unknown.
Right.
It'll be fear and then ridicule and then
Yeah.
And then how do we contain it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we stop it and contain it? This is a problem.
What's the spirit of the presentation and the narrative? How do we sculpt that so it that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she says we gotta we should make the videos and all of that stuff and let it and be in remote places and let it play from there.
be in remote places. Yeah. Run for the
Oh, do
hills and
it.
drop the bomb.
To always do it remotely. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Undisclosed location. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is like when we first started talking, remember DJ, we started talking about that
Yeah.
for the building of the celestial alignment because
Right.
I figured once the book came out, I thought they would be smart enough and would get it then.
But
But they don't.
the MO is basically, just get it off the radar through ignoring as much as possible, and creating an environment to scoff and ignore. But,
Hmm.
this is the game that has been played, many times. So it's playing to our advantage in this case because we're just creating more content.
Yeah. But, all right. Well, thank you for doing that. We got to get back to the packing game.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
thanks for letting me
Good luck with
practice on Mirror there too, and nice speaking to her again as always. Yeah.
No,
Very
it
good.
was nice to have it and to hear it a second time was it was like watching something in subtitles, and then you slowly begin to understand the language. And I'm hearing it the second time. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, now I fully see. But still, we're looking from this little bitty phone.
Yeah.
Today we got some iPads that we can really look from. But I'm like,
Oh, cool. All right.
Did you record that, DJ? Because that was
I
actually a pretty
did.
decent.
I
Okay,
did.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, we could type that out, and that's the dialogue you
Okay.
need to go.
I'll post that so you have it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I'll just type.
on the THP. So.
Yeah, that's a great way to do
yeah,
dialogue.
we've got to do that with the DNA too.
Yeah, they're up there. They're up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can build them. Time to make boxes. I will talk to y'all. I'll call
Whatever.
you.
We're on all the time. We're on. So
All right.
just check in.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you're welcome.
I was so excited. I had to share that.
Nice.
She had to see it. She had to see it. It's magnificent.
It's fun to share it with her.
Yeah, it's great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always
All
good
right,
to
good night.
have have a dry run on impromptu with a with an with an unknown audience. Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks for that,
He was
man.
like, "Come on, sing the song. Come on,
Yeah, man. Come on,
Sing
man.
it, yeah.
Come
You
on,
just
man.
learned
Yeah.
it, but sing it anyway.
Come on,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
come on,
Do that.
dance for him.
Dance, man.
Him.
Come on, motherfucker.
And then the shots, the
Kids,
gunshots at the
Bang,
feet.
bang, bang.
Yeah.
Man. Dance. Come on.
Right.
kids wiping sleep from his eyes, and crying, and drunk daddy mad now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good stuff.
All right, good job, though.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, she says really, really amazing. Really, and I had shown her your column earlier, dude.
Oh, good. Okay,
And
cool.
it's just like we're there.
It's
So,
the flow.
all right,
The
I'll
flow
talk
is
to you.
flowing. Yeah.
Have a good night, man.
Okay. All right.
All right. Take care. Thanks. Bye bye.